And here you go. Christ is God.
And just quickly, Myron, I've heard you talk about this a lot, that like, women are, 80% of the consumer market. Rollo, I've heard you say this as well. Mm-hmm. We've got this gynocentric social order. So if you think about it in terms of the churches, who are they going to try and appeal to? If you start up a church, you've got a denomination, you want to bring people into the door, you want to get donations.
Good point.
Whereas the Catholic and like I go to an Orthodox church in Australia, they own the whole block. Like they don't ask me for anything when I get in there.
Gotcha.
They don't really, need me that much.
Yeah.
And the truth is,
let them be more honest and really, because there's no financial incentive.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is like, I always say to young men who are going into the church, be a servant for the church. Put your efforts towards being a good member of that church community. And just like everything else, you get out of what you put in. And if you're being a good servant to the church, isn't it amazing? The church seems to take good care of you.
This guy, Jill Figgs, wants to know, Myron, would you offer to moderate Andrew Wilson versus CGA round 2 on an actual debate with questions and answers?
Yeah. I'd be happy to do that, because I think both of you guys, like, I don't think either of you were wrong. I think he totally misinterpreted your position, because like I see that like he didn't let you like really explain what you were trying to say, because that makes 100% sense. Like, you don't even recognize secular marriages. Right. That's huge. That's a big detail.
Well, the thing is that I would love to do it so that it was timed.
Yeah,
sure. Just so that I can get the points out and demonstrate to the world just how fucking stupid this guy is.
How about this one? CGA started debating himself at one point in the debate. But also, when are we going to get an evolution debate between Mike and Andrew?
I'm actually down to do it whenever Mike is.
Okay.
I'm down to do an evolution debate whenever.
Want to do it?
That was like one of four super chats asking the same thing.
I'm happy to do it. I don't usually do evolution debate. I will. Jim Bob is way more skilled than I am.
Okay.
So I would recommend actually that matchup made by Jim Bob versus Michael Sartain. I'm sure Myron would happily host that one as well.
Yeah, I could do that. No problem.
And if they won't, you guys could do it on the Crucible, right? But I think that he would be a better, because it's more his jam. You know what I mean?
We can all multi-stream it. Like I can, like, you can put it on your channel. Me and Andrew can even moderate it and put it just so it gets more views. Sure. Like we could put it, like both go live, moderate it, or be witness, and then you guys just go back and forth and debate and put on a big platform.
I'll call shutdown.
A great roundtable discussion with common sense. Please do more of them. Oh, really? You mean without all the girls that you guys were complaining that we didn't have in the beginning of the show? Imagine that. We did a high quality stream with no chicks on the show.
I think one of the most
That's the most high quality
we discussed on this thing is because we talk, like I said before, we talk so much about how bad marriage is or whatever, but there's guys out there that actually do want to get married.
Yes.
And find a way to build a family. And I've said it before, if you want to have kids, the best way to do it is through a marriage. And, how can guys navigate that? And I think doing it with the religious route is really the only way.
See, that's the thing is like, whenever I'm dealing with guys like Matt Walsh or Michael Knowles or any of these guys, especially like the guys who think like I am in some way like anti-marriage. I'm not anti.
You're married.
Clearly, I'm not anti-marriage. I've been married for 29 freaking years. I've been married longer than most of these guys have been married. Yeah. I wrote The Rational Male. What else do you want me to,
You've been married longer than a lot of the people on the internet have been alive.
Right. And so they don't know what to do with me, because like here I am, a happily married guy who's been married for quite some time, still very much in love with my wife, had one kid. Sorry, I should have had 10. I guess I'm a failure as a husband and a man. But the thing
do you wish you had more?
Not really. I like the one we had one child by design.
Like if you could though, if you had a magic wand, you could go back and you're like only
I don't think
3-4 years in, would you have had another one?
No, because and then also my brother has a son and a daughter too, so I kind of consider them my kids as well.
Gotcha.
So,
a lot of sense of family there.
But we did it by design. But the thing is like, this is why I will never get past the gate. Like I'll get up to the gate, but they won't let me pass the gate because they don't know what to do with me once I'm past the gate, especially when it comes to the topic of marriage, because everyone thinks that I'm anti-marriage because I bring up the facts, I bring up the stats, I bring up the data and everything else. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just against the way we do it now.
And now we can even add in, we're against secular marriages.
Which is what most people redefine it there.
Now we can even, because
that way,
now that specificity changes the game, because a lot of guys get married in a secular fashion. How many times they get married in church? That's the first time they've been for 3 years.
In a church, yeah.
Like it's for their wedding. So,
and we see the stats, the more religious you are, the more that you take it seriously, right? The better that not only the marriage is, but the outcomes for your children. The less likely that you're going to ever be hooked on alcohol or drugs. Less likely that you're going to have bad outcomes yourself personally or your wife. Less likely that you're going to get divorced. Like every outcome for you increases drastically with religiosity.
Yeah, you know, and it'd be interesting to see, like, if you like they'd probably never be able to replicate this study, ethical reasons. But like, if you looked at the people that like got married with the church and with the state involved, a lot of those people probably were fairly secular. Probably first time they've been in a church for years, right? They don't go regularly. They just went because we were born Christian and we're just going to go ahead and do this thing. So they did it from a ceremonial perspective.
Yeah.
So, you know, that probably would account for a lot. But I was going to ask you this, Andrew. What are your thoughts? Because I really want to get your take on this. What are your thoughts on all these like OnlyFans women that are like converting and saying they found God? They're turning to the church. Like, I'm sure a lot of them might be genuine about it, but you know,
people ask me often, do you and your wife debate? Do me and Rachel debate? We don't really very much. We debated on this issue.
She's more anti-feminist than you are.
Unless it's about the moon.
Rachel is, she's twice as brutal and she's more based than me. That's just the truth, right? She is. She's awesome.
Hardcore against feminism.
And the thing is we debated back and forth on this issue. Like, what is it? And we both kind of settled on, it's about control. More than anything, it's about control. Let me explain what I mean by this.
Yeah, please.
When it's the case that you're a 21-year-old girl in this society and you go on Instagram and you post a little nudie of yourself or a bra pic or something like that, instant validation, man. 20,000 likes. Girl, you're so beautiful. You're so gorgeous. You're the best. You're the this, you're the that. But just like with podcasting or other events of fame, it's scalable. So if you're a man who's making $20 million a year and you go down to $1 million a year, you think you're a failure. You think you're a failure. You're failing, right? Even though you're wildly successful, right? But you think you're failing. And the same thing, your live chat starts to decrease, things like this. Even though you had 50,000 and now it's 15,000, which is still massive, you feel like you're a failure. Women have the same exact thing when it comes to validation from men.
To garner attention from the opposite gender.
Garner attention. Yeah.
Good
So
point,
they go, oh man, 20,000 went to 10,000. I'm a failure. I'm failing. I don't have the instant validation button anymore. And now we fast forward to when they can go to church and have control for what? Instant validation. Instant validation. And so what happens when Nala Ray converts and posts that to Instagram? What happens to the validation?
It's a new form. It's a new toy.
Oh my God, it's 100-fold what she was getting, right? That's what I think it's about, is control, and not necessarily just the control over the men in the church, but control over that idea of validation, the control over the idea that, wait, I can't get this dopamine. I can't get the validation like I used to anymore. But this conversion, man, like look at Nala's progression. Anytime she's people forget about her, somehow she pops right the fuck back up, right? Talking about how whatever podcast abused her, right? And Smokey Man Bad. Suddenly it's 1 million. Oh, girl, I can't believe it. Well, it's a validation machine.
Brittany Renner did it with Islam. I've seen plenty of girls do it with Christianity, like these religions that want to save people.
To Brittany Renner, man. The last time I saw her, she was in like some hijab.
But
next time she looks like Jackie Brown with.
and I wanted to get your take on this because, like, you know, as obviously someone who's like an Orthodox Christian and actually like practices and understand there's a real barrier to entry. Like, I was like, well, I want to get Andrew's take on this because I've seen a lot of girls either do it with Christianity, like I'm converted, I found Jesus, or even some girls like
if
I
it
found
was
Islam.
the case really that they were converting because they had made a mess of their life and they were sorry about it, you'd never hear from them again.
There you go.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
you would never hear from them again.
That's
what they would do, or you would hear one last thing. You would just hear, "I'm really sorry," and in humility and repentance, right? I'm going to go take some time with the church and my church fathers to get my shit together. And maybe they come back in 5 years, great. And then you get the welcome, right? Then you get the wow, but you don't go, well, I went and got baptized at heresychurch.com, right? And now I'm going to tell you how to be the right kind of Christian. Fuck you, right? That's what I told her. I'm not going to take advice from a woman who's had 50 dicks in her mouth. You're out of your mind. And what man would?
And what kind of was she? Was it non-denominational or
non-denominational? And she started her own ministry immediately, which was exactly what I said would happen. Stephen Crowder did a whole expose on it. She started.
Women could be ministers?
No, but
okay.
she started an online ministry
It sounds profitable.
where she called herself. She calls herself on the online.
See, that's why I asked.
classes.
That's why I asked Andrew on this
Have
stuff.
you seen the
because-
website?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
amazing.
she called herself-
She's got about 50 courses. I'm not even joking. How to like stop doing porn. How to be a good steward of your wealth for God, and all these sorts of things.
Oh,
Just
financial
course.
She's cashing in on another
and
way.
it's all. But here's the thing: all of that promotion that she did led to the selling of those ministry courses with her and her husband, and she calls herself a minister. She calls herself the ministry of. And so the thing is like the whole thing. And by the way, I called this before anybody.
Oh, you said
Right?
okay.
Called this that she was a minister before. And I said, you're going to do a ministry. I can see it. No, I'm not a minister. I'm not. And yes, she was. She was setting the whole thing up. And so the thing that's really funny about it is like I gave her a lot of grace, like I do everybody. You know what I mean? Maybe she's authentic. And I told people back off until we see what she does. I was on a panel with you where I said it. I said, look, I'm not going to say anything about this yet. I see Pearl's going hard. A lot of people are going hard. I'm going to welcome her into the fold until she shows me reason not to. And she instantly showed me reason not to. But for her, the validation, like with many of these women, the validation is they go to Twitter, Christian Twitter. I'm a Christian now, girl. And then the simps, there's as many simps as you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
The low tier Christos simps, right? The virtue signal simps. You're beautiful. You're regenerated in Jesus.
And they're
by the
all
way, you
like-
want to fuck? You want to fuck?
Yeah, they're all
You're
called, like,
regenerated in
Christian
Jesus.
Chad, and they got an AI
crazy.
photo and shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
So this is something I've heard you talk about this before.
Because I've seen so many of them do it. The chick, real before you go, the girl that took the 50 million from Shannon Sharp, she gets off OnlyFans, saying I'm retiring, and the next day she puts a story of her reading the Bible, and I'm like, bro, here we go. Sam Frank, same thing. Brittany Renner, Islam. This girl Nala Ray, Christianity. I'm like, what is this like? Some kind of?
But I'll tell you, the big
It is.
test, and this is what I wish we could do collectively. I wish that I could get a message out to like every Christian who even self-identifies as a Christian to just say, look, for 16 weeks, you don't respond to any of these women's social media posts at all. I think almost all of them would be back doing OnlyFans.
It's happened a few times to the ones that you've debated, where they've tried to do the Christian thing, and then a few months later it doesn't work out. They're getting 100 views on their reels that they're
And they go
posting
right
about
back.
Bible studies, and then next minute they're like they're on the OnlyFans, but they're still a Christian, but they're saying I'm an empowered.
Yeah, I think
Christian.
I think where
crazy.
the difference is like as men. We get our validation from, like you actually talked about this in a marriage. There was status associated with marriage.
Massive status for men.
So I have a wife who is loyal to me, and then I have kids, and I own a home, and I've worked really hard, and that's where we get our validation. Generally, from the compliance we get from our family and our wife. Women get their validation from the attention that they get from other people.
Well, we also get it. We don't just get it from that. We get it in social ways that you don't really recognize. For instance, bosses are more likely to hire you if you're married.
Oh yeah,
and have children. And the reason
I can
for
tell you that from being in the government, guys that move up a lot of the times,
they're married. And the reason for that is you're a very safe bet. You're going to be dependent on the income to take care of your family. So you're probably going to work hard so that you can stay there, right? You can't transition easily out without some serious planning because you have a wife and kids to take care of. So what that creates is because that creates a non-impartial hiring practice, the employer thinks this is a safer bet. Employers move that way. That's a form of social status. That over time becomes a form of social status. And it's not just that, it assists with trust, right? People are way more likely to trust people who have families than they are bachelors. Right. Why? Because they know that you have responsibilities outside of yourself. So it's less likely that you're going to be up to doing nefarious things. There's tons of small social statuses you don't even recognize.
Killers, dude. It tames serial killers.
Yeah.
BTK had a family and stopped killing.
He stopped killing,
Like
the Ice Pick Killer?
No, BTK.
Dennis Rader.
In Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah, that was the bind.
He went crazy in the 70s. And then once his daughter went to college and left the house, that's actually how they caught him.
And then he started up.
And he started trying to kill again. And that's how they caught him, because I think she went did an STD test or something.
And he was also
matched it.
He was also old and out of practice, right?
Yeah.
But the big thing is, yes, the social status aspect. There's 1,000 tiny ways that it adds to the social status of men that they don't even think about. And you can take one of those married men who's lower middle class and match him up against a bachelor millionaire. And in social status, from how other men view them, it's often very similar.
Yeah, depending on what they do.
Yeah. But I mean, you're not getting looked down as an electrician Like it's and a
My other
family
men
man.
definitely not. Maybe by dumb bimbos that don't understand.
Yeah.
But you're married. What do you care about the dumb
Yeah,
bimbo? That's
exactly.
the point. So I do think that there is social status which is associated with it, just in a different way.
Sure.
So,
but anyway, the thing you mentioned before, and Alex Ramosi made a great video about this, was the difference between fame and influence. So, and I'll use this example. Alex Ramosi and Brittany Renner are about as famous as one another. Alex Ramosi can fill up a room with 10,000 people. Brittany Renner looks like an idiot talking about having sex with 3 people at the same time. She's famous, and they confuse one for the other. We had a discussion a while ago about female Instagram models, whatever, trying to start their own podcast and how it would repeatedly fail over and over again because they had
fucking
fame.
idiots.
Exactly, because they had fame, but they did not have influence.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I think it kind of gets lost, and it's frustrating, right? As a content
We saw
creator
that in an
myself.
election in 2024.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kamala Harris, A-list celebrities, LeBron James, Taylor Swift,
Yes.
A-list celebrities that acted. But you're right, they don't have influence.
But
Trump
Byron
does
had
all
some
social media.
influence.
Hey, I tried, man. 'Cause I was telling everybody because we have a decent amount of because like I did my like a little analytic of my audience. It's white, Hispanic, blacks are the top 3. Almost 50% of my audience is Hispanic, actually.
Yeah.
Those beaners. So I was like, yo, you guys got to get out there and vote. And I was telling everyone hard in 2024. We got to get out there and vote for Trump. We got to get out there and vote for Trump. I'm going out there. You got to get out there and vote for Trump because I knew, like, if Kamala got in, we already endured a whole bunch of censorship. It was only going to get worse with her.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, we got to get out there and vote. And then obviously we're in the middle of 2 wars. The economy sucked, all this stuff. Immigration was going nuts. So,
and you also, like, can we just be real?
Yeah.
You also just didn't want a woman president.
That's actually the number
one reason. You just didn't want a woman president.
Yeah, I just didn't want a female president either. That was a big one.
Those are the classic TikTok invasions when before the election when we go in there like, so why do you want Trump to get elected? Because I don't want to listen to
woman president.
And traditional celebrities,
an annoying voice.
And I realize this because I want to add to what you're saying because what you're saying is profound, and I think people need to understand this. And I'm glad that you said it because there's a big difference between being famous and being influential. Like LeBron James is famous, worldwide famous. But is anyone going to go out to the polls and vote for Kamala Harris because of him?
Right.
No. That's why they said shut up and fucking dribble. That's what they meant by that. Like, you are a basketball player. People know you for what you do, but you're not really influential. And this is why Donald Trump doing the press run that he did with social media versus Kamala Harris getting traditional celebrities to endorse her is a failed way. Correct. Because you're right. Like, especially in the new age of social media where people are more relatable to influencers than these A-list celebrities. Yeah,
So let's talk about the spectrum of social media platforms. I would say TikTok probably the furthest to the left, and like say Rumble and Twitter furthest to the right, or YouTube I think is a little bit further to the right than say Instagram. You'll see it's harder to build up an audience on YouTube because they do not credit you for pandering. TikTok will give you 8 million followers if you pander to women because 85% of consumer transactions are female. TikTok shop is massive. So TikTok, hey, you can't even use my name as a hashtag. I'm nobody. I'm about as moderate as you can get. I had like 70 million views on there, whatever. And then they took my name off. You cannot look up you can't use my name as a hashtag anymore.
Yeah, conservatives cannot exist on TikTok.
Correct. So
only Charlie Kirk was able to do it. And that's because he had a rep there. They knew him.
Yeah.
He was with the Trump team, but I have never seen a conservative exist. Are you on this?
Well,
an actual account?
I have not been banned from TikTok, but it's because I don't do traditional TikTok content. Let's put it that way. But yes, I do very well on TikTok, but
you don't post reels.
I don't. Not only do I not post reels, I don't do lives. I don't do any of this. What I do is go into where their panels are and fucking decimate them, and so does the Crucible crew. And they're real good at it. Haven't you had a bunch of
accounts taken down though for doing that? No.
My main account has not been banned.
Okay.
That's impressive. I've been like 5 times.
So you don't post content. You go in there and
I never post content.
Facilitate debate.
And
That's different.
So the thing is like there is a way to do it. You just have to be really smart about it. But ultimately, he's right. Sartain is right. TikTok is the furthest left, most evil, mechanized, fucking horrible piece of shit on planet Earth.
And Twitch.
And we've been literally, the Crucible has been fighting them back like crazy. I mean, you've seen the TikTok invasions. Yeah. We're always in there warring with the fucking TikTokers and trying to
you use it as a portal to debate them.
We're trying to hold the tide back, right? Yeah. That's the whole point, because the most evil bastards on planet Earth are on that platform, man.
And
the
now,
most evil bastards.
So now there are like hundreds, if not thousands, of people who listen to the Crucible who will be in there at every moment of every day debating these people.
At every moment of every day, 24 hours, 7 days a week, there's somebody in the Crucible who's in there on a panel debating.
Yeah, this is also when you look at certain women panders, like say Chris GQ Perry or Derek Jackson or something like that. They will destroy on TikTok, and they will do nothing on YouTube.
Right.
Because on YouTube, if you want to see if you have influence, getting someone to watch a 3-hour podcast that you do or a 3-hour live stream, that's influence. Someone is willing to actually sacrifice to listen to what you're doing. If you want someone to watch a 15-second clip, that's fame. That's definitely fame, but it's not influence. And so I think that's a massive difference. Whenever I talk to someone, I always check how strong they are on these different platforms. And I can tell if you're crushing it on Instagram and you're crushing it on TikTok, but you're not doing well on X and you're not doing well on YouTube, I can tell that you pander to your audience and you don't have a ton of influence, but you may have a great deal of fame. And the other thing I want to,
we're massive on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's where we do everything.
I want to point out one other thing. He's actually politically progressive. I don't know if you guys know who Jonathan Haidt is. He wrote a fantastic book called The Happiness Hypothesis, and another one, I can't remember, The Coddling of the American Mind. He has a terrific book that's just come out, and it's called The Anxious Generation. Yeah. And in this book, he goes over, and this is the reason why I want to bring it up, because this is something that I think would help all of us, and it's on the forefront. It's cutting edge legislation, and that is to ban cell phones in junior highs and high school, make it federal legislation that they are banned, because the studies that show what happens to children when they have the access to social media through puberty, when their brain is forming, it creates basically what you see now. ADHD, high levels of narcissism, high levels of neuroticism, high levels of anxiousness. That's what's going on. And I've gotten to the point where when I talk to a girl, I ask her, when did you get your cell phone? Like that is a very important thing. If a girl says, my mom gave me a cell phone at 12. I'm like, I already know I'm dealing with an anxious, neurotic human being, most likely. And so the thing is, this is one of the reasons why I think Jonathan Haidt isn't as popular as he is. And the same thing with Richard Reeves. They are liberals basically supporting a conservative narrative. And in doing so, that's like Richard Reeves he's a really, really good writer, but like he doesn't have have you noticed how he barely gets any?
Oh, he has no
play.
He
has no play at all. Yeah. Why? Is because he's a liberal writing about supporting conservatives when he goes about of boys and men failing. And so the same situation here. I think this is a big deal where I would very much support legislation to get these cell phones out of high school and out of
Jonathan Haidt. He's exceptionally popular amongst like the classic
smartphones,
right? Yeah, like, smartphones.
Well, like flip phones, not a big deal. As long as they can't access
social media. Yeah,
I think that's a great fucking idea.
No, I agree, because like we're older, so we don't know what it's like to have an iPhone at fucking 10 years old.
Yeah,
like I can't even imagine. I didn't get a cell phone and I had a flip phone until I was 18. Yeah, so like.
I knew I was dumb. I can look back now and say how dumb I would have been at 14 having unlimited access to pornography on my phone.
Yeah,
I know I'm stupid enough to do.
And I notice this when I meet younger guys, like they're really socially awkward.
Yes.
Right. Because I go to like a lot of these political events and meet these guys in person. A lot of them are socially awkward, timid, shy. They don't look you in the eye when you speak to them. Like a lot of like these weird character traits that are indicative of someone that's extremely reclusive. And that comes from like, the cell phone, and we don't bully people anymore. That's another thing too. Right. I remember when you were socially awkward like that growing up, you're a fucking weirdo. What's wrong with you? And that would make you, oh shit, I gotta like acclimate. So we remove bullying. People are dumber. They're more anxious, etc. I agree with that, man, because I've seen this with younger people. Younger people are dumber than I think our generation.
Here's the
Jake's
irony.
A fucking bully.
Yeah,
he's a fucking bully.
Here's the irony. He's a political progressive, and he's talking about this. And then who's he going up against? Who's saying that social media is not bad for kids? The social media companies, of course, which are then owned by liberals. Yeah. It's become they're eating themselves. It's a crazy thing, because Zuckerberg he met Jonathan Haidt, and he was kind of upset with him. He was very short with him. He was like, I don't agree with your data. I don't agree with your studies or whatever. But it's blatantly obvious the difference between this generation now and my generation that used to bench press, play middle linebacker, and get into a fucking fist fight in high school, and none of that happens anymore.
Yeah, but Mike, I reckon it's even way worse. Like you've got kids now who are 2-3 years old who are literally glued to iPads.
Yes,
I've seen this, and if you take the iPad away from them, they start screaming and crying.
Yeah,
this is when your brain is the most plastic, when you're in your very early formative years.
Well, most parents just want to use those devices as like a pacifier, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does parenting.
Yeah, I've always noticed it's like fat parents will do that. If I see two fat parents, they've got their kid at the table.
So bad. You guys walk lazy.
Okay, when you walk through the airport tomorrow,
and I want to add something to your TikTok thing, because this is something I noticed too, because I've done collabs with so many different people from different spectrums, and what I've realized is like with TikTok, like TikTok and Instagram is like dominated by females.
Yes.
Right. And they can only dominate really there. What I've noticed is influence goes like it'll translate the longer form your content. So in other words, if you're big, like if you're a big streamer or like you're on YouTube and you do longer form content and people are watching you for 15, 20 minutes, hour plus, that will translate back towards Instagram and TikTok. People will gladly watch your clips and shorts, but it doesn't work the other way around. And this is where a lot of female influencers fail, like what you were saying, because they're big on TikTok, big on Instagram. They could do some dancing, do some dumb shit, but they aren't really engaging past that. So their YouTube suck, right? Or when they stream, their streams suck. And there's not many females that are like, very successful streamers, unless I've seen them leech off of men.
Yeah.
That's why some of these female streamers will pair up with a Neon or pair up with one of these with these guys because they suck. Nobody wants to watch them. So they have to leech off of men for longer.
Boy, that sounds familiar.
So here's the other part, the other conclusion that Jonathan Haidt comes in the book. He talks about the concept of brain rot. So specifically, like he says, it's not that bad if you're with a group of friends discussing an idea on social media. It's not ideal, but it's not that bad because at least you're being social, like a chat room or something like that, or a live stream. He said the biggest problem is the brain rot on TikTok. So let's specifically talk about this because this comes back to the female narcissism thing. TikTok teaches you when I am bored with something, I swipe it away. By the way, dating apps do the same thing. I am now bored with this thing. I have no patience for it. So I'm going to swipe this bad feeling away and keep swiping until the point where I finally get the dopamine, the hit that I want. And then that dopamine's not enough. So I keep doing this for hours. I've trained my brain to, and anytime I feel any kind of negative emotion, to swipe it away and to have the attention span of nothing. And now you go out there and you hear women and you explain to them, hey, 65% of college graduates, I don't know if you guys saw the Owen Cook clip, 65% of college graduates are female. You want these men to take care of you, but they have no money because they're not being able to get a job. And the women are like, I don't fucking care. Work harder. And I'm like, she doesn't recognize it because I'm sure she probably grew up as a normal person, but that is narcissistic what she's doing right now. Where does that come from? I do think it may come from the brain rot, specifically from apps like
if you want to see it, I reckon the best example of it that I've probably ever seen.
It's hard to find a logical conclusion.
Yes.
I've noticed as well. Like if 65% of the graduates are women, well, that's going to have a profound effect on men's earning capacity, dumb bitch. But they can never connect the two for some odd reason.
Yes, but it doesn't matter because that bottom third of men or bottom quartile of men, they're invisible to them. But not only visible, they're non-people. This is another thing, and I didn't mean to get too far off topic. We all see grandma. If grandma is on the side of the road, even though she is not a viable sexual option, if grandma's on the side of the road, we stop and we help her change the tire. Why? Because our ancestors protected the tribe, not just the fertile women. We protected the entire tribe. What happens with really attractive women, I do this all the time. I go to Toca Madera every time. And I sit there with them and the waiter will, the busser, it's not the waiter or the manager. The busser will come and fill up our drinks or whatever. And I'll wait a couple minutes and I'll literally say to them, do you know that women have a hard time even seeing men that they're not attracted to? And the girl always says, no, that's not me. I was like, cool. Tell me about our busser. And they're always like, we have a busser? Wait, I don't understand. They remember the manager. He's a tall, good-looking guy. They absolutely remember him. But that's the difference. It's because women don't even know they exist. There's a male loneliness problem. Not any guys I know. Brock, the bartender who fucked me last week, he's not happy. He's not lonely because that's all they see.
It's so incredible.
Yeah, 99% of women say they dated a narcissist. No, maybe you dated a guy who has boundaries.
Options.
Like 4,000 fucking women, dude, that I've talked to. It's so fucking nuts to me. No matter education level, religion, class, where they come from, it doesn't matter. Like most men are fucking invisible mosquitoes.
Yes.
And not only do they not see you, they look at you as an inconvenience in their life. And if you got fucking swatted away, they would not care. And I try to drill this in guys' fucking heads. Dude, women don't give a fuck about you. Like you literally have to stand out head and shoulders above everyone to even get a chance.
And then they really give a fuck.
Then they really.
And then,
you're trying to say something, Jake.
I was just gonna say about the brain rot. I reckon the best example of it that I've ever seen is on your show when you ask them to name 3 countries and they can't do it. And these bitches will say, Africa. Like, I'm actually impressed about how they go their whole life and avoid that information.
Do you understand that they're not doing that because they don't have the mental horsepower to understand 3 countries? It's because it's not useful. to their worldview.
Yeah.
It isn't to put on makeup and to look pretty. For my prime directive, it to be attractive as I can to as many high status males as possible. It is not important.
Yeah, but just
to me
like
to
that
look where
level of
Luxembourg is.
information, like
Yeah.
I
And
actually
have a
don't know how they
bachelor's
have.
degree. And they'll
it
have
matters.
degrees, dude.
How do they
They'll
not
be
know
educated.
it? Like, how do they actually avoid
Well,
it?
are
Like,
they
if I went,
really
if I went a
educated because
year
they have a degree,
and
though?
tried to not
Yeah,
learn
they're
3
so
countries,
retarded, but
if I went a year and I had a factory reset and then tried to go a whole year of my life without understanding 3 countries, I don't think I'd be able to do it.
no.
I'd have to know 3 countries.
Well, no one's coming to save you either. That's the reason why.
Well,
yeah, true.
to the TikTok
If I was
thing. By the
pretty
way,
bored.
whoever
Yeah,
put the
it's
light
nuts.
cigarette in my mouth from the.
Did you notice that you're double parked
You're
with
double
cigarettes?
handed
Yeah, it's a light. Yeah, but light cigarettes really. But anyway,
AI thinks you
yeah, I
smoke
think
a
I
lot.
think I smoke light. But, so back over to TikTok. We're talking when you're saying when they get bored they can swipe.
Mm.
One thing I think that you're alluding to there too is also things that upset them they can swipe away.
Yes.
Things that make me upsetty spaghetti I can swipe away. Things that I don't like I can swipe. You know what I mean? It's not just boredom. And what you find is when you go on to various TikTok panels, and I've been on hundreds and hundreds of them during TikTok invasions, right? And so as many people in the audience who participate, if they don't like your voice, they mute you away. Okay, it's the same exact thing. I don't like what I'm hearing. I don't have to hear it anymore.
It's a proxy for woke. Just
Yeah.
overall woke. Like
The
TikTok
entire
allows
thing,
the wokeness.
the entire thing is thing I don't like needs to go away. And what did I say earlier to tie this all back in? When the progressive strategy of removing all conservative ideology away has worked.
Yeah.
Until now.
You know, this is another part I want to bring up. Let's just say we're all wrong about everything we believe in this room. You still
Jake.
want you still
We're all wrong.
let's just say hypothetically we're completely wrong because I'm sure there's some
Take
people
away.
who feel that way. If we're wrong about everything in this room, remember we're the ones that are proponents of free speech. Part of free speech is when you have an incredible idea that comes out of nowhere. Part of free speech or freedom of expression or freedom of assembly allows you to build an incredible company full of people, and that company can build incredible technological advances. But part of free speech is listening to a politician say something fucking stupid so you don't vote for him. Stupid speech is such an important part of free speech. People saying ignorant things on the internet.
Yeah.
I don't want them to. There's people who want me dead and say horrible things about me and my family and say that I was never in the military and all kinds of shit about me. And I don't even want them deplatformed because their stupidity then allows for me to know, hey, you know, I really like this guy. I thought he was base, but then I find out he believes the earth is flat. I don't want to vote for him. Like that's essentially what happens. So
Look,
dumb
like
speech is also-
short of physical violence, right? Or things like swatting, stuff like that. I don't really think that there's much you should get deplatformed.
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. I
It
agree.
doesn't like. There's just not much.
These
you know?
T's that
If-
want to take over, let them have a platform.
Yeah,
Like, don't
like
ban them.
the thing is that honestly, most of the time, those people only end up with cult followings anyway. It's the deplatforming that gives the kind of appearance that I know the secret truths. And you know I know the secret truths because I've been removed from all of society. And the truth is like a lot of these people, if you had just left them platformed, would have fucked themselves out of their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You didn't even have to worry about it to begin with.
It's kind of similar to like socialism and capitalism. Socialism pretends that everybody's equal and doesn't just says, we're gonna fuck everybody up and make the cream rise to the top, right?
Yeah.
Whereas capitalism's like, I want that idea to be fucked up because it's gonna lose.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and not just that. I don't even get me started on socialism. Not understanding
I was
why
trying to.
why people
Not
not understanding why people would not want access to capital is fucking crazy. It's the only way that people have been brought out of a caste system and poverty and
Because they
everything.
don't know how
is
to raise-
access
they're
to
bringing it back.
capital.
They don't know how to
New York's gonna
raise
be a
capital.
test
That's
case.
why.
Can we talk about this? You're a certified hater of democracy. I don't hear any. I don't have any other context. I know you hate democracy. What does that mean?
Well, our founders hated democracy. And they not only hated it, but they really didn't want anybody to vote. People don't realize that you didn't get to use to vote on a president. That wasn't a thing. You didn't get used to vote basically on anything. And there was good reasons for that. And the primary reason for that is because they thought that people were too stupid to vote. They were uninformed and they were fucking dumb. And they didn't have the requisite knowledge to participate in politics. And they assumed that what would happen was we would end up with a partied system, and that partied system would polarize the public, and that polarization would lead to the decrease in individualistic rights. And guess fucking what? Guess what happened?
Sounds so familiar.
Guess what happened? And so,
four-year terms kick the can down the road.
the thing is that I believe in a system which democracy itself. I think all forms of government, whether it's a monarchy, it's an autocracy, whatever, all of them can work depending on the ethics of the population. Okay. But democracy itself, the reason why limiting it is such a good idea is because it stops a couple of things that are really big problems. One is NGOs. It stops those in a big way. Okay. It stops the idea of being able to take different voting blocks and ascribe bribes to them, right, based on what NGOs want in order to move them towards one political party or the other. And the reason you have so much budgetary inflation is because all politicians are trying to steal money to bribe the electorate.
Yes.
And they're always trying to bribe different parts
Shout
of the
out to
electorate.
New York and their new mayor.
Yeah, they're all trying to bribe different parts of the electorate. And so the better system, and this was the founder's system, was that you had to have some kind of stake, just some stake in the game. They thought that property ownership and then limiting it to Christians was the better way. Okay, that was a better way. Now we have an ethical standard and we have a financial standard of skin in the game. This created a very patriarchal society and it was very, very, very stable. What expanding suffrage did, they expanded suffrage to 18-year-olds. 18. They're so fucking stupid. It's like,
I've literally never heard a good argument for why they should vote.
Why would you ever want an 18-year-old to vote against me? Why would you ever want that?
Why would you want some university student?
That's the dumbest thing in the world. So I would just propose this, even if you don't agree with the democracy stance. Let's raise the voting age at least to the age of when you can be president. If we can't trust you to be president of the United States,
35.
if we can't trust you to be the president of the United States, then why should we trust you to vote for him? You know, if you're not informed enough to even if we don't trust that you're not of a ripe enough age to represent us, why should we allow you to vote to pick my fucking representative?
I think the compromise might be 25. So the age that you can run to be a representative,
No,
but
make it
also
35.
because at 25, at least, you know, that's old enough to get a bachelor's and master's degree, or you've served in the military for a certain period of time.
Yeah,
But
I don't think
35
that military service is a good requisite. For instance, you can be a foreigner and serve in the military. That happens often, right? People from Chile do this all the time, and they don't actually get citizenship just because they served in the U.S. military. Interestingly enough, I don't think that military service in and of itself would be enough. I think that you would have to add a bunch of different criteria.
Okay, to be able to vote.
To be able to vote, I think that there needs to be an age restriction. I think there needs to be some sort of stake in the game. One good proposal is that you are paying more in taxes than you're getting out.
Oh, okay, got it.
Right. So if you are a net drain, which most people are, most people are a net drain, you don't get to
Especially
vote.
the blacks.
You don't. I mean,
Sorry,
you don't get to
that in
vote.
there, like, you know what I mean?
And the thing is people.
Some people forgot Myron was on the show.
They're in the chat calling this
Especially
a clan meeting
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
People often say, "Well, you want to take away women's rights to vote," and it's like, no, not. I want to take away almost everybody's right to vote because voting rights, for one thing, are affirmed in the negative. There is no actual right to vote in the Constitution. There's just the right that if a vote is held, you can't be barred from voting.
Yeah,
it's not that you have some right to vote. You don't, and most rights are affirmed in the negative. The very idea here, basically, is that we want to remove from the electorate people who are problematic. They're social eaters. They figured out that collectively you can draw resources to yourself which are unearned from a small collective which now can't fight back because you just simply outnumber them in votes.
Yeah.
That our founders would like fucking lose their shit on thinking about the fact that you could have 50 guys over here who have worked their asses off to attain a bunch of resources. And if there's 53 people over here who haven't, they could just vote all those resources to themselves. That's fucking crazy and should never be allowed to happen. And so what we want to do is we want to cut down NGO special interests and the bribing of the electorate. Once the electorate realizes they can vote themselves, resources, we're fucked. And the electorate now knows that they can. And the politicians are in a massive grab bag with them. How do we pull from the public trough? It doesn't even matter about debt in order to bribe this voting bloc to vote for me so that I can achieve political power. And they never have any stake. They never have to put up a fucking dime. Yeah. And it's like, that's an atrocious system and it's going to fail. By the way, that system's going to fail.
I agree that restrictions definitely need to be put on voters. I mean, obviously you have a lot more restrictions than like some of us would have, but I agree that the way that we allow voting now, where we literally have morons coming in and voting, like they don't even know policy. Like women, for example, notorious single issue voters. Who's going to let me kill babies and be a whore? I'm voting for him. Typically Democrats. Ridiculous, right? That's just an example.
Well, you can win elections on slogans.
Yeah.
Literal slogans
Bumper stickers.
on one single issue. One single issue
Well,
is your
social media
slogan.
Propaganda is much easier to
That
do
too.
now with social media. But like the only way to get, I think what you're talking about to happen is you have to fail, right? Because otherwise you need a revolution. Like you either need a revolution or failure of a system in order for it to
In
change.
order for the democracy
Yeah.
to fail.
You know,
Let-
there's this is the big problem with this. So I've heard this before. It's kind of doomer pilled, right?
Well, I
You
mean,
have-
it's not
it's
necessarily.
like
It's just like
you-
what do you call it?
It needs
people
to
don't wanna
collapse
change
before it
till
can
they
be
have to.
rebuilt. Yeah, it has to collapse first, rebuilt. But people
Well, it's kind of like a
forget.
fat person, right? They're not going to get in shape till they realize they're really
Yeah,
fat.
but one thing that can happen and is happening is Renaissance. We're having finally an actual Renaissance in this country.
Yeah.
But you have
You
to make
have-
that revolutionary change.
We had to
in order
deal with
have
this
it.
like
But hang on, you got two
wokeness
options.
shit.
You got revolution and you got Renaissance.
But
and-
isn't Renaissance part of the revolution?
No,
Okay.
no, it's not. Well, it is. I guess you could say it's more of a social revolution
Right.
rather than a like physical revolution or
Correct.
something like
maybe
this.
a peaceful revolution.
And
of
it's more
ideas.
limited in scope, right? So you can have a Renaissance just based on technology, and while the social order is changing, not necessarily the moral fabric is changing or
Right.
things like this, which usually a revolution will change almost everything. And I think we are beginning to experience the beginning stages of Renaissance. The idea is people are stun locked when it comes to violence. They fucking abhor it in this country. What happened to Charlie Kirk? Like every side, Fuentes, who was his nemesis, gave this heartfelt, like, man, you could tell he was shook.
Yeah.
You could tell he was shook.
I was supposed to
And-
debate the next day in North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, I
cancel my shit. Like,
Yeah, I could tell he was shook. And the thing is, like,
Same
people
yours, I
abhor
tell you was shook.
violence. And so
Yeah.
what's left to you is Renaissance. And it's like, well, how do we fix this? We're not ready for the democracy question yet. I'm way ahead of my time on this. Okay. But I was way ahead of my time on on birth rates too. I was talking about that when people were laughing at me. And now they're like, well, okay, he was right about that. But what will happen is this conversation. How is it that we can have an electorate that's so divided? That's the question. And it's because it's bribed. It's a bribed electorate.
Yeah,
and-
it's bribed through propaganda.
And so once we start answering the question of how are they bribed? Well, you can't fill people's money, or you can't put money in people's pockets from propaganda itself. You have to have
No, but you
money.
can give them a social clout.
Yeah, you can give them social clout, but you need to have money itself. And once we ask the question, how are these people bribed? What we're going to find out is that they're bribed in two ways. The first way is through think tanks and NGOs, and they work
Yeah.
specifically
Mhm.
with politicians to identify segments of the population which can be bribed, and then they tailor the message to that segment of the population, deliver it, and then in exchange for that vote, deliver the bribe.
Sounds like propaganda to me.
Well,
think
propaganda
tanks are one of the
portion, of
most
course.
political
Yeah.
think tanks are some of the most pernicious fucking institutions in America that have put us in perpetual wars, put us in very problematic areas. Like think tanks, like not enough people talk, because like unless you're in the political sphere, most people in America don't even know what the fuck is a think tank.
Right.
Well, think tanks are what get us put into war, because these are guys that are planners, the outliners,
Yep.
writing all this shit up, and then they go and get, like you're saying, then they use here's our policy.
Yep.
Then they get the money behind it, and then
And
bam.
not just think tanks, it's non-government organizations
Absolutely.
who will utilize all of the data and this and that. That's what the think tanks draw from. Then they get money men, and the money men bribe that portion of the electorate. And usually the reason that they're doing it. So you ask, like,
these are
why?
unelected bureaucrats
they're
that
ask-
write this shit.
Yeah, they ask, why do you do that? Well, here's why they do that. Because they make a pre-deal with the politician who's running, and they say, look, we'll fund your campaign. But when you're writing the next tax law to bribe this portion of the electorate, I want this loophole, this loophole, this loophole, this loophole, this loophole put in for my buddies. Right? That's not a system of governance of the people and by the
And
people.
it's so obscure, no one's gonna even notice.
That's a
it's,
system.
It's like, yeah.
Well, and they'll attach it to as earmarks and all
Yeah.
kinds of shit, right?
Yeah, people don't notice until the ships fail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the thing is that these bills are vast, thousands and thousands of pages. The average person can't understand any of them. You don't know what's
Most of the
embedded in them.
politicians don't
They don't
fucking
even
know.
Yeah, there's loopholes and everything else. And so here's the thing: how do we take that away? We have to take away the bribable electorate to begin with, and in order to do
Or
that,
collapse the system.
we have to have a bunch of things change. One, I would say voting shouldn't even be done unless you have a family, right? I would say unless you're married with children, You shouldn't even be considered for voting. Okay, period. I would also say that you would have to have some stake in the game, property ownership, something like this would be necessary. I would say that there needs to be age restrictions and there needs to be some sort of demonstration based on public service that you understand the electorate system.
But to get that big of a change to actually happen, though, is what I'm saying, right? Like, because there's so many people that are incentivized to not have
all that takes that change to happen is what happened with Roe v. Wade. If we have Supreme Courts who look at precedents when it comes to voting, like 19th Amendment voting, things like this, and they say, actually, this doesn't mean what you think it means. It doesn't mean that you're entitled to an election, only that if an election happens, you're entitled to vote in it, right? So there are various ways that can be combated even without collapse. Over time, people start looking at various issues which are becoming popular. Abortion was very popular. We won. Speech has been very popular. We won. We haven't gotten to the corruption yet. We haven't gotten to the bribing of the electorate yet. We haven't moved there yet. But in the next 5 years, 10 years, we are going to move towards that conversation. And then that's when the ideas of solution at the local level begin. And those tend to expand out, just like abortion did. It started with the states. The states are outlawing it. Now we move to the federal ban,
kind
right?
of going to the different stages of acceptance, right? There's a lot of people who have no clue because they believe that the government's still voting, still in their favor and everything, right? So in terms of the first thing, it's denial, right? So they hear that information, they're like, no, I think that's like the current stage. And then the next stage is acceptance. So going from that stage to that stage, I think is going to be the hard part for most people.
Do you want to know what terrifies me, man?
Yeah.
Like as you bring this up, what terrifies me more than anything, what gives me the nightmares? And this is what I know is going to happen. See, if a socialist comes along, an articulate socialist, and he gives us all our social issues, that he says, you know what, you're right. No more gay marriage. That's done. The trans stuff, you're never going to have to worry about it again, right? And he gives us a bunch of the social things that social conservatives want. And then he says, in exchange for that, I want my economic policies in there. I think he would win in a fucking landslide.
Especially,
and you know what? I think that not only would he win, but get the economic policies in, like universal healthcare, things like that. Right. And then the next socialist would come in and just take away all of that social rollback.
We've had this chat before about the left-wing populist. Like
the left-wing populist is what I fear.
The left-wing candidates at the moment are no good.
The only thing that's kept us from that and is woke. And that's the one benefit we've had that nobody ever talks about is that because they're tied to the absurd social issues like transing the kids and shit, they're so tied to that as part of their identity, they can't move off of it. But man, if one of them ever fucking figures out, I can move off of that and give the social conservatives what they want in exchange for my economic policies, and he's a populist, we're fucked.
It kind of does exist already because you really do have guys like Jackson Hinkle and Haz Aldine and these sorts of guys who, I mean, all of the Democrat politicians at the moment, they're laughable. They're useless. They're incompetent and all of that. But those guys, they're a tougher night at the office.
Yeah, well, and that's why the middle class is so important, right? And that's getting eroded away right now because when you get people who are poor, they will become more desperate and then they'll vote for it. Not anything, but almost if it gives
universal basic.
A center left populist is very dangerous. That's sensible, right? Like that handles like a lot of the culture issues. Like, there's two genders. That's fucking dangerous.
Well,
because
the big key for him, for whoever the social populist is one issue: mass migration. Yeah, he comes in and he says, "I'll eliminate mass migration because I think it's like Bernie Sanders said, a Koch brothers conspiracy." Right-wing conspiracy to bring in cheap labor. So no more mass migration. That motherfucker's in office tomorrow because the most unpopular policy globally is mass migration. And that guy, if he says, and in exchange for that, I want universal health care, UBI, and a bunch of other social, he's fucking in.
And because he's going to come in from, I hate to say it, but Mustache Man precisely did that. That's what Mustache Man did. Came in with a nationalist perspective. We got to get these motherfuckers out. No more immigration. We run our country. You guys will all get houses. We're going to have cheap affordable cars. That's how the Volkswagen came in.
And the national highway system.
The national highway system. That's how we took Germany from poorest ever to in the 1930s to one of the most powerful nations in the world.
They were so poor and so desperate at that point, they were willing to listen to that.
Yeah. And he had those conservative viewpoints with the socialist angle.
I got to tell you,
that's dangerous, dude.
We are ripe for the socialist populists to come in, say no more mass migration. And if that's the one issue he says,
you're right.
That's it.
That's dangerous.
That's it.
Because you've taken one of the strongest strongest positions that conservatives have. A lot of conservatives in the last election voted for immigration and
Not
less
just
mass
that, the
migration.
UK, right? If a UK populist socialist came out and said no more mass migration, same shit,
Yeah.
right? Because it's globally, it's the most unpopular thing in all Western nations is mass
Especially
migration.
now.
People hate it. They loathe it. They don't want any more of it.
Yep.
And every year they hate it more than they did the last year. That's
Dude,
all
some
it's-
guys listening right now, like,
I know,
holy fuck, this is
I
how
know,
I-
but here's the thing.
No,
Here's
but
the
you're right,
thing.
dude. That would be
That's
'cause you're
my
taking the
warning, but that's
strongest
my
thing
warning, man.
from the right. You're literally
Yeah.
taking. I'm going to give you guys health care. Don't worry,
Yep.
you guys will be able to afford to go to the doctor, and I'm going to get rid of these goddamn immigrants, and
Yep.
we're going to have this stuff. And we're
You're
not, it's only
done.
for us.
You're done.
And we're going to nationalize all of that
Cooked.
industry.
If the Bernie Sanders comes in, who's not Bernie Sanders,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just says no more mass migration, okay? It's a Koch brothers right-wing conspiracy to get underpaid labor in here. We want
You
strong
spin it that
trade
way.
unions for our people here
Oh.
in the U.S.,
Oh,
period. And I want that policy. He's in.
yeah, dude.
And he overwhelmingly they'll vote him in. And my warning here is that that's what's coming.
Well, in
Whew.
New York.
Well,
is a
no, let me tell you.
microcosm.
You know
Yes,
what?
it is.
I literally said this like a month ago. I said, if Mamdani wins, be ready. The DNC is going to employ his strategy
Yeah.
in the 2028 election. He fucking won. The Democrats now have a game plan on how to win elections. Namely, they had a handicap. It's New York City.
Right.
Republicans don't do so well over there. Fine.
Right.
But now they have an actual tangible win to put under their belt. That's why a lot of these fucking guys, Hassan Abi and all these guys, fucking celebrating. Yes, we got it. Because New York City is the most influential city.
Yep.
And he was able to win a lot of even conservatives over to come over.
Yeah.
And obviously he's saying the immigrant thing, but if you get a socialist like a Mamdani that says, oh yeah, by the way, we're not bringing these fucking immigrants in.
No, in fact,
You know,
there's a
I'm Christian.
moratorium.
I'm a
There's going to be a
Christian.
moratorium.
Yeah, there's a moratorium.
Day one.
I'm a Christian.
Yep.
We're not bringing in any of these
Yep.
motherfuckers anymore.
Mm.
Dude,
It's over.
it's over.
But then
Yeah.
the question becomes,
And he's white?
right?
It's over.
He would. I don't even think.
It's
I
really
don't
over.
even
Yeah,
think
yeah,
he would
yeah.
have to be white.
He wouldn't have to be. No.
If it was the case that he said no more mass migration, it's never going to happen,
Uh-huh.
and I have the influences of both houses, they're willing day one to sign this bill in, and it gives us an immigration moratorium day one. That fucker's in,
Yeah.
and they're going to get all their social programs.
Because he
And then
took
the
the strongest
question-
position from the GOP
Yep.
right there with
Yeah.
immigration.
Yeah. Well,
That's what got Trump in. Like people
Of
forget.
course.
They're in the cats
so
and
what you're
dogs.
saying is people are more for ending mass migration than they are
They will give-
against
they'll give
mass
anything.
socialized medicine.
People
then-
will
but
give
then what happens
anything to
after
stop mass
Yeah.
migration.
Yeah.
Because
But
you're
Andrew, what
getting
happens after that?
you're
right?
getting conservatives and
thing
the
that I
and the
said before.
Democrats.
Yeah,
to
of
vote
course.
for you
I
now.
know.
Well,
I see
that
what
would
you're
be
saying.
collapse.
Yes.
Like the negative part
I hope
of
the
raising
Renaissance
taxes
is coming.
is not as
I'm
upsetting.
doubtful, man.
I want the Renaissance. I'm just telling you that scenario is collapse.
'Cause-
That leads to
Well,
collapse.
that's what I'm saying is because when you get to that scenario, let's look at New York as a microcosm, right? New York in the 70s and 80s had like the biggest crime problems, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
In the 90s, they got that fixed.
Because they
after-
aborted everybody.
Right. And then
I'm serious. That's what happened.
And then
They
after
aborted
that,
There's,
everybody.
there's data on this. Yeah.
And then after
Yeah,
9/11,
Giuliani went really hard on crime in the 90s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then after 9/11, things started to slip a little bit, right? And if they have this guy in power and he does start doing these things and people are at the beginning, oh, this is hunky dory, this is nice. And then they start to see like, oh no, it still does favor certain groups of people. They get mad, they start getting violent, right? What happens first in that type of scenario is that you get organized crime comes up and starts actually having some success because people don't want to follow that system at some point. Right. And then you have to have that new system. So I'm saying that in between.
Well, that's what
Easy on
happened in
crime.
this city.
Easy
This
on
city
crime.
was essentially run by the mafia. There's a point.
I wish
where-
it was.
Well, and
Still,
there's-
I wish it still was.
That's what I'm saying.
There's a
People
point.
will say that.
Casinos are run by the
Exactly.
mafia. There's-
I wish it still was.
There were crime sprees that started happening in the 1990s, or like from the 1970s and 1990s. Once the mafia moved out, and then there's this point where the Las Vegas Police Department is not big enough to police the city, and then all of a sudden, then after there's this crime wave, this one guy robbed 6 casinos at one time. It's a really, really crazy story. And then once publicly traded companies start taking over, then that power vacuum is now
Right.
brought in a new tax base.
Right. And then the people get used to that kind of situation, right? And they're good with it. But like that's what I'm saying is like going from one extreme to another is what happens. Then people are like, we don't want any of that. And then they have to
Yeah.
bring in a new
No, I
system.
agree.
But it takes a whole generation.
I agree.
At least.
What I'm talking about when I'm talking about Renaissance is the slow social move, which can turn into a large burn quickly.
Right.
Right. And usually these are over technological changes or they're
Right.
over huge
Like AI.
social changes. And you can see renaissances happen very, very quickly.
Yeah, AI could be a huge catalyst for that.
Like 10 years.
Could be.
Because it can educate people.
Could be.
Could be.
But before we run out of time, I have to ask you about this because
I got one more super chat, but go ahead.
This might be the funniest position you have. You are not opposed to men and women's sports. Can you explain why?
Okay.
I've heard this take
I
a
know
few
you like
times.
this.
Yeah.
Well, here's
It's
the
a nice
thing.
reminder.
Yeah, here's the
To
thing.
women.
I think that it's a great reminder that that 12-year-old soccer players can beat professional teams who are female, and it's a great reminder to them that the patriarchy is benevolent, and it reminds them of just the disparity between the strength levels of men and women. When you see 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds kick the shit out of these women in their own sports leagues, and then when fully grown men just put on a wig and go out there and crush them, and women were the ones who voted for that shit. I say, take your medicine. You voted for the shit. You wanted all the transgender shit, and now they're in your sports. I say, let them deal with it. And you know what? It's the radical turf feminists, the trans exclusionary feminists, still radical feminists.
Yep.
They're like, no, this is for women. And I'm like, look, fuck them. You wanted all these women to vote, and they voted for this shit.
Yep.
And now you're getting your heads kicked in. You're getting your asses kicked. You're getting wrecked by everybody. Right? Men just go in, they put on a wig, they kick the holy shit out of you.
And
They break your
feminism was the
face.
Trojan horse from which the T community came in.
Yeah, they break
Feminism
your
was the
yes,
spirit.
exactly. They break your face, and it's like deal with it. And what we need is women collectively. And I say,
gotta get Aaron Clary on.
I say
this.
continue.
This
I say
podcast.
continue. Don't no mercy on this until women collectively vote it out.
Yeah,
Because that's the only way they fucking learn.
So I thought about it at first when you said it, and then I was like, yo, what if they let men in the WNBA and they just started killing everyone? Like what that was just getting
I thought Brittany
punched on
Griner was the
constantly.
first step,
And then
bro.
I'd be like, yo, I would the first trans
Isn't the
person to get in
dildo shit
WNBA
the funniest shit in the world?
Yeah,
in the WNBA.
yeah, I
They
would-
just throw the
made a
dick.
fortune
Yeah.
betting on
Yeah,
that.
funny as hell.
Do you understand the kind of numbers that I would watch that? The first trans person.
Well, if there was men in the
WNBA,
sport, it would
just
make it watchable.
Well, the
crushing
thing
everyone.
is
First
like-
dunk ever.
Yeah. It's like for men, it's no worries, right?
Yeah.
You're never going to see female linebackers, right?
Yeah.
Like the
There is no rule
the
in the
F to
NFL
M.
that women cannot.
Yeah,
play.
right. The F
there's
to
nothing
M.
on the books that they can't join.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, right.
But the F to M's, right? Sure. Come on into the sports leagues. Absolutely. I can't wait to see you get fucking snapped in half by these giant 600-pound fucking gargantuan monsters.
Yeah.
But women, well, you voted for it. Have fun with it, because combat sports for men going to be just fine.
Yeah.
All of the contact sport for women, it's fucked.
Cooked.
And it's like, that's what you fucking get.
Let me ask you this, Andrew, because you were mentioning Christianity in the United States, and I had like a big debate where I've been like going back, and you guys all know I'm Muslim, right? But I'm not a retarded goat fucker like these idiots, some of these guys, because like there's a difference between like sensible guys. Yeah. So like there's like sensible people, right, that are Muslim and that understand certain things, and there's the idiots that are low IQ. And I try to tell them, America is
Like
a
all of
Christian nation.
Pakistan.
Yeah, a lot of, yeah.
Like all of it.
Yeah, pretty much. And I tell them, like, they get so pissed off at me. I had many debates. I say, America's a Christian country.
Mhm.
We're guests here.
Yeah, I saw that
Respect the-
debate.
respect the-
I
the-
saw
the-
that
the
debate
country.
with Sneeko.
Yeah, and-
So I had a chatter from your chat come in and ask me, would you be willing to have that same debate with Sneeko if Myron, hosted it, because you have more knowledge on it? And actually, I'm open to that if you
Sure.
ever
I mean, yeah,
are.
I can make it. I don't, because the thing is like when I was having that discussion with Sneeko, he didn't really like debate my point so much as he would just ask me questions
Yeah.
about like why I thought the way that I did. And I was like, look, this country was founded by white Christian men.
Yeah.
Like the separation of church and state, so that the state would not corrupt the church and vice versa. It wasn't the separation of church of mosque and state. Like this wasn't, and they always reference like, yeah, the Muhammad people or whatever, like they're allowed in too. That's true. But that doesn't mean that they want them to run the country and be the influence. They didn't expect people to be praying at Times Square and, being on loudspeakers saying like, we're going to take over and everything else like that. Like Christians have every right to feel threatened and be like, yo, this is our country. You guys are here as guests. We don't want this. And then the example I gave, because they got all butthurt when I said like the example about if you went to Mecca and tried this, they'd be mad at you. Okay, fine. Let's use another example. Let's use the United Arab Emirates, a very westernized, a westernized Arab country, Muslim country, right? 90% immigrants in Dubai. If a bunch of Christians, 100 Christians went to the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, and tried to pray, the police would tell them, get the fuck out of here, right? So I don't think it's appropriate for
And
Muslims
you
to
think
be at
that's
Times Square.
okay?
What to
And you as a Muslim
they-
are not offended
yeah.
by that. Oh, you think that's fine?
Well, yeah, well,
I wouldn't mind it, but I know Muslims there would be like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, but how is that not
this is a westernized Muslim country, by the
Yeah.
way.
But how is this not a consistent position from you? Because you don't have a problem with the people in the United Arab Emirates saying that, right?
Yeah, no, because
Exactly. It's their country. So,
let's
but
take
they
that-
have a problem with me. When
Right,
I
they have a
say,
problem with you.
They
Yeah,
get mad at
exactly.
me when I say, well, if you guys wouldn't tolerate this in one of the most westernized Muslim countries, why the fuck should Christians tolerate you guys praying in Times Square?
right.
And they're like, well, there's we have freedom of religion for church and state, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is still a Christian country, hosted a Christian country. I'm like, bro, when you swear in, you put your hand on a fucking Bible. You don't put your hand on a Quran.
but like again, let's
Like,
extrapolate this
we
even
want a modern
further.
crusade.
What would happen with mass immigration in China? Like they would forcibly kick you out.
Shut the Uyghurs.
Mass immigration. You extend your visa in Russia. What do they do to you? They forcibly kick you out. Let's extrapolate even further.
all we have to do is look at what happened with the Uyghurs, right?
Yeah. Let's take it even further. Voter ID. Well, for some reason, they're able to host free and fair elections in Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Germany, all these other countries. They have voter ID, but for some reason in this country, we can't do that because then it's not free and fair elections. So it's like it's exactly what you said. You're using the idea of like, well, this is a Christian nation, and these other people are guests, and if you went to that nation that was Islamic, then they would not accept it. It's the same kind of situation. It's like people who are sitting there. Look at how Mexico treats Nicaragua when those people try to come in illegally, but how, and then look at the way we treat Mexicans when they come in here illegally, and just see the difference, like the massive difference.
And the other thing too is
Our
like, 'cause when I
benevolence
was-
is used as a weapon against us.
when I was having this discussion with Sneeko, and I want to get your take on it, Andrew, I'm just giving you my full position on it, and then you can add to it because you're obviously more knowledgeable about Christianity. Like the thing I said, he made the argument. He said, well, this is the freedom of religion. Like we can practice here and all this. I said, cool, you can practice, but why not just pray in the mosque? And the other thing is, just because you could doesn't mean you should. Right. And he's like, well, yeah, it's all a bunch of, them boys propaganda demonizing Muslims. And I said, I agree with you. There is a lot of propaganda from them guys against Muslims. So why would you exacerbate the problem and confirm the fucking stereotypes? Why would you do that when there's plenty of mosques all across New York City? Did you really need to pray in Times Square and be on the speaker and everything? Oh, well, they have church bells. Well, they can do that because this is their fucking country. Right. I don't think it's appropriate to have the adhan play 5 times in Dearborn, Michigan. I don't think that's appropriate.
Well, they're a bunch of
country.
they're a bunch of hypocrites anyway. So
Yeah, but I'll turn it to you, bro. Give your position
Muslims
on it. But
go
these are
in-
the arguments I made, and they get so pissed off at me.
At the one hand, they'll say, "Oh, it's secular. You can't stop us from, from our religion." And then the other hand, if they have a secular institution like the public schools that they take advantage of and send their kids to, they go in and they say, "Oh no, you're not allowed to teach them A, B, C, D, and E." And we're going to stand firm against that inside of this secular institution.
The alphabet community.
Yeah, so they're like, they'll impose their will while at the same time claiming that there's a secular bridge which allows them to have the religion
Precisely.
here. So it's like, you're fucking hypocrites. Shut up. That's all bullshit. The Christians are the only ones who are consistent on this, who say, when you're talking about separation of church and state, that was never the intention of our founders. They were saying there couldn't be a national religion, that the 10th Amendment governed that their states could have religions, which is why all the fucking states did have state religions after the Constitution was ratified. Almost all of them.
Just quickly though,
They almost all had a state religion.
good-
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Almost
That's-
every
that's why,
single
like I said,
state
it's great.
post the ratification of the Constitution, look it up right now, had a state religion. And by the way, if you weren't a member of that fucking religion, you couldn't vote. Even if you were a white person who owned property in good standing, you couldn't vote unless you swore that you were a member of that religion. And that's what the 10th Amendment was there for. Before that, we had the Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation, that was a free-for-all, okay? It was a free-for-all. The states all adopted their own religion. They had trouble with interstate commerce, and they had trouble with rebellion. They had trouble raising troops. They settled on the Constitution so that there could be a federal government which could assist with those problems. The compromise was that the federal government wouldn't take one of those state religions and make it the national religion, thus stopping them from having their own religions. That's what the 10th Amendment was about. It was about states being allowed to have their own religion. So like these people are fucking illiterate, stupid, ahistorical retards.
Yeah. And the argument I made when I was saying, like I said, look, the Constitution and a lot of the, incorporating documents were based on the Bible, right? When you're sworn into a federal position, or a government position for that matter, you're sworn in on the Bible. Like the reality is like a lot of the unalienable traits, a lot of this stuff comes from the Bible. Like, so to sit there and say, this isn't a Christian country when it was founded by Protestants, is ridiculous to me. And it's like,
of course it was. And by the way, you had thousands of contributors to the Constitution.
Their argument to me was, this isn't a Christian country. That is the foundation that they had to debate on. I was like, you guys are fucking stupid.
And that's because there was famous court cases where it was the case, in fact, that we did allow some Muslims to come in a very small percentage. Okay. But we got to remember that we have to have a historical context of the time.
What was that? I think I know what's the name of that, like that agreement or that case law that you.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but the thing is like, but we can look at the context of the time. The context of the time is these guys didn't feel threatened by a couple of Muslims coming to the nation. Okay, it wasn't a problem, right? Yeah. They were, and by the way, they usually weren't coming to stay long term. The citizenship itself was a very rare thing for foreigners to have at this time. Mm-hmm. So when you're discussing this, let's keep in mind the historic standard that. All of these people were English and French for the most part. Yeah. Almost every single one of them. They didn't even like Germans. They didn't like the Dutch. They didn't even like other white people. They definitely didn't like fucking Mohammedans. Okay. Yeah. They definitely didn't like
That's funny. That's what they called them.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't like them. Yeah. And it was very obvious that they didn't. And it wasn't just a bunch of deists that put this in as some secular fantasy so that we could all live together and sing Kumbaya. There was thousands of contributors to the Constitution, and most of them were Christians. So that's it.
So would you say, because this is what I was trying to argue as well. I was saying, look, this like removal of religion wasn't of like, saying that, oh, it's more secular, like removing the church and state. It was more about making sure that there weren't like Christian infighting versus allowing other religions to just come in and take over.
It was about allowing. So we had the Articles of Confederation before that, which was a free for all. It allowed each state to have their own religion. Yeah. They had their own currency. They could govern.
But it was all Christianity, right?
It was all Christian.
It was all Protestants, basically.
Catholic.
Yeah,
like one Catholic.
But that's still Christian.
Yeah,
right.
Precisely.
So the thing
that's what I was trying to explain to him. This was more about containing infighting within the church.
And
versus...
the Constitution was designed so that we had a currency and we could raise a single militia and we could actually defend all of the states. Yeah. You otherwise, how do you defend 13? It was like 13 independent nations, basically. Right. And so once we had the Constitution come into place, there was compromises which were made, like the Second Amendment, for instance, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep their arms shall not be infringed, right? What does that put in there for? Well, it tells you, saying a well-regulated militia we know is necessary to the security of a free state because we have to call them before, right? But we may not be able to arm the militia. So the best way is to make sure that the people themselves can have arms so that they can be called anytime between these ages. And you can look up the Dick Act, and before the Dick Act, what they used to do is they would say, okay, you're 16 years old, you're in the militia. Okay, we can call you up whenever we want. Now, moving past that, when you get into the 10th Amendment territory, right? Remember the First Amendment, this is saying there can't be a national religion. 10th Amendment says that everything in the Constitution, which is not given as the authority to the federal government, goes to the prospective states. It goes to the prospective states.
Wait, say that again. All the authority in this document, which we have not given and appropriated to the federal government,
goes to the states.
The states get to make their own policies for these things. Well, there was never any authority given to the United States government over the policy of states themselves being able to have their own religion, right? And they almost all of them did post ratification of the Constitution. It took years to eliminate that. So it's like, no, he's wrong. It was set up as a Christian nation, and those are the historic facts.
Yeah. All right, guys.
That's more detailed.
I got one more for you. No. I don't think we can do 3 of these, but can everyone around the table name 3 great books to read? None of your own, please. Thank you. Let's just do 1.
I got 20. Go ahead, Myron. What do you think?
Shit.
Or 3, whatever.
I'm trying to go to Jake. I'm thinking.
I'd say Mere Christianity is a good one. Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future, and also The Tragedy of Great Power Politics by Mearsheimer.
Mein Kampf.
There we go.
There it is.
There he is. We've been waiting for him all day.
Yeah.
Clanosphere.
Yes, it's written by the Austrian painter. Go
ahead. On resistance to evil.
Okay.
The history of philosophy, and of course, my favorite book, The Hobbit.
But
there we go. You know what? I have to, Andrew. This is what they threw at me too. Look at the 1797 Treaty of Tripoli. Some idiot gave me that shit too.
Yeah, Tripoli.
We could scroll up. they're saying, oh, it's not a Christian nation because of they use that
The Treaty of Tripoli. Yeah.
Yeah. What is your
the Barbary pirates?
Yeah, that's So the thing
that was
is,
more about appeasing pirates, right?
Well, actually, there's more to it. So this was just a letter. They're just referencing a letter.
Okay.
That's it. And in the letter, it said that there's a wall of separation between the church and the state. This was something that which was very famously stated. But the Treaty of Tripoli itself, right, has no bearing on the 10th Amendment at all. And by the way, this conventionally had nothing to do with the Constitution of the United States, but was just a single person's interpretation. So it's like that. What is the Treaty?
I'm glad someone in the chat put that there.
What in the Treaty of Tripoli changed the Constitution?
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, you're talking about something that we had between Syria. Like
it came up a million times during my discussion.
What in it changed any sort of policy in the United States when it came to the U.S. Constitution? Nothing. By the way, post Treaty of Tripoli, I think that there were still states that had state religions. I think there was clear up until when was the last state shrug it off? What was it? I don't even think it was terribly long ago. Like, I mean, there has been states with religions for an awful long time in this nation.
Believe it. I believe it. There's lots of state laws that like never got, like in Texas, if you steal a cow, you can be put on death row for that.
Yeah.
It's still a capital crime.
Horse.
Like, yeah.
Steal a horse, it was hangable.
Yeah. That's why the funny story. That's why the Texas Rangers were created, because of cow stealing.
Yeah. I don't remember the
they don't like when you say that.
And killing Comanches and
well, I wish I had
those guys were the worst Native Americans, Comanches.
Yeah, I wish I had the reference because I don't remember when it was that the last state shrugged off the actual like
state
this
religion?
is the state religion.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that, Andrew, because like I had my position, but I didn't think about the 10th Amendment and like look into it like that, because that no one ever talks about that stuff, because this is a topic that people don't really want to touch on, because like it's controversial to say America's a Christian country nowadays. And obviously Muslims get mad.
Even though nobody questioned that for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Nobody.
But like now it's a controversial take.
That's a big deal. What's your 3 books?
My 3 books are going to be Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. I'm going to say The One Thing by Gary Keller, and probably I would say The Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Those would be the 3 books.
48 Laws of Power. That'd be one for me.
Hey, retards in the chat that are saying it's not a Christian country, please tell us how it's not. Instead of saying
the latest state to disestablish its official religion was Massachusetts in 1833.
Yeah, so that's 1833. Awful long time after the fact, huh?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because they're saying not a Christian country, and they're not telling.
Now, when was the Treaty of Tripoli?
17 something. Yeah, someone put it like 1790.
Wait a second, that's awful strange. That's awful strange. I thought that disproved that we could have state religions that were Christian, and yet we have a state religion that's Christian after that. I'm very confused.
Yeah, it's
3 books. Miguel, go.
Why Women Deserve Less.
Great book.
Very good book.
Part 2 coming out soon. Why Women Deserve Even Less. Me and Aaron are working on it now.
Atomic Habits and the Bitcoin Standard.
Nice. Yeah, I'd go with Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. The Sovereign Individual, and Turning on Machines, which is a new book about AI.
There you go. Let's get out of here.
Okay. Hey, man, thank you guys for joining us. There's 2,000 people watching, which is a lot for us.
I got 220. I got almost $3,000 on me right now.
Yeah. So. 3 on Rumble?
Combined.
Yeah, I didn't even go live on mine because I came in, like, I didn't know, like, I didn't want to mess up your guys' stream. But I'll repost it, though. I'm going to
live right now.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Beautiful. Man. So I want to thank you guys for joining us. Hey, we want to, if you completely disagree with everything we're saying, we want to open up free debate. We want to end the gatekeeping, and we want, freedom of expression, regardless of whether or not you disagree with us. That's what I fought for when I was in the U.S. military. And so for those of you who just want us canceled, they want us to go away, you tried, you failed. And the other part that I was going to mention is that we on the right have developed an apparatus because we've been canceled and because we did debate so much. And the people on the left, because you kept running away, you're not prepared for it now, because you did not develop the same calluses that we have, being yelled at and screamed at, and in some cases shot while we were giving a speech. We have developed the calluses, and so now it's going to be much, much, much more difficult to deal with people in an open arena of ideas when we've been practicing for a while, because we didn't ask you to get canceled, but you asked us to get canceled, and it didn't work. Cool.
There it
Anything
is. Next week we will be here, November 12th
Yes.
with the all girls.
Yeah,
Again.
bringing back the incredibly highly intelligent 23-year-old women. That
It
are
won't
coming
be a
here.
sausage fest.
It'll be
Maybe I'll come out for it.
Yeah, you go.
There you go.
Also, DebateCon. Come to DebateCon.
Come to
Grab your
DebateCon.
tickets.
Jack-
Modern day debate.
Jake the Rattlesnake. Where can we find you?
Rattlesnake TV on YouTube, and I host the Extravaganza 4 times a week with this knucklehead on Rumble. On the
Beautiful.
Crucible. And
You
that's
promote
about it.
Australian feminism.
Oh, I love it. It's
Yeah,
my-
I love it.
It's my bread and butter.
Is that yes, incredible. Where can we find you guys?
You can find me at Dollar Cost Crypto, and we'll be doing the Crypto Mindset meetup in March.
There you go.
There you go.
Yep. You can find me at Cultivate Crypto on YouTube and on Twitter as well.
Beautiful.
And don't forget, Reignite.
Friday night.
There it is. Newbeck. This is yours, by the
Yeah,
way.
he dedicated it to Joe Marone and me, so now I have to fucking read
Yeah,
it.
now you
I
have to
have
read
to
it.
read the book.
Yeah.
now.
It'll be signed, Roller.
You didn't sign it.
Yeah, I will. I will. I will. Okay, guys, we're out.
Where can we find you
Yeah,
before the end comes?
Fresh and Fit, Myron Gaines X on everything.
Yes.
I'm everywhere. YouTube, Rumble, Kick, Party. YouTube keeps censoring me, so I'm everywhere.
Okay, beautiful, man. Again, building a coalition in the dark, like you said before. You're still able to do that, man, because that's the innovation of free market capitalism. Rumble stepped in when other people weren't listening, and X changed their platform. And that's one of the great things about living in a free nation. So since we're the last country in the world to be able to do this, let's make sure we protect it and with who we vote. And shout out to New York. Welcome to socialism.
Down, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again?